Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with 25,000 clients worldwide and 38 years experience in the business. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this video on the enemy within. Now, I've done a lot of other videos before this one, and it's suggested that you do watch those. There's another 62 videos that I've done prior to this one. And those ones build you up in understanding so that gradually the videos become more and more complex. And what I'm going to speak to you on this video may have some larger plan concepts within it that are a little bit difficult for you to relate to, but intuitively you will be able to relate to the things that I'm talking about, because all of us are on the path of life, and all of us are subject to this enemy within. You realise it yourself, that the only enemy that you really have is the enemy within yourself, because things that are external to yourself can't really have impact upon you unless you allow them to have impact upon you, and you have conscious choice as to the impact that those events and conditions and those interactions with those that you have relationships with on a various number of scales of intimacy and closeness, they have impact upon you only to the degree that you will allow it to have impact. So you are the boss, in other words, of your consciousness, and it's all to do with your internal self-awareness and your level of self-esteem and your self-image. Look, we're all on a journey in life. We've all signed up to it on higher levels, on soul levels, and we've all lived hundreds of lives to get where we are today. So there's no backing out of it. There's no saying, oh, I want out of here. Because even if you end your life today, right now, you will find yourself in that higher level with that soul, planning out your next lifetime and working out and reviewing your shortcomings and your failures and your successes, of course, in this particular lifetime. So all of us are in the wheel of life. There's no escaping from it and getting out of it. We wouldn't want to get out of it, because life is eternal and consciousness is eternal. There's no such thing as death. There's only a transmission of consciousness from one state of consciousness to another. And all of us are in this game of life, this wheel of reincarnation, whereby we're coming back into life time after time after time in order to do what? In order to expand our consciousness. Consciousness is the primary mover in this whole scheme of things, and this is very, very important to let it in, because you are a unit of consciousness and you are a complexity. You are a massive complexity, and you have within yourself all of these subconscious lives, which are smaller than your own consciousness, and they are your emotions and your feelings, your attitudes and your beliefs, and your thoughts and your feelings, and they represent also the decisions and choices that you make on conscious levels and also subconscious levels. Look, all of us are in this game of life, going through a whole variety of experiences in order to expand our consciousness. That's the end game. We have a piece of consciousness, a piece of the one soul. There's one universal soul, and all of us have a piece of that soul that is our individuated soul, our individual soul. And that individual soul of yours has all of the properties, all of the qualities, and all of the powers of the overall soul, the universal soul, inside of itself. Now, it is totally conscious and aware. But you have to learn how to handle that consciousness in your own self-conscious unit of self-awareness. So this is the name of the game, is consciousness expansion. What is consciousness? Consciousness is sentiency. Consciousness is awareness. And you are more conscious now than what you were when you were a 6-year-old child. You're more conscious now than what you were as a 10-year-old child. As a 17-year-old child, you were more conscious than the 10-year-old self. And now you are more conscious than you were when you were 17 in your puberty. So you are expanding your consciousness in this lifetime and recapitulating your gains from past lifetimes. Now, if you accept that you have this complexity within yourself, that there is a whole bundle of bits of yourself, component parts of yourself. You have a child, you have an infant, you have a child, you have an adolescent, you have an adult, and you have a spiritual adult. So these are all component parts of yourself that are still there. Even though you're now an adult, you still have that adolescent within yourself. You still have that child within yourself. You still have that infant there within yourself. So you are a complexity. And there's a lot more that I can say about the complexity of the soul, but that's not for this particular video. This particular video is designed to help you to understand the forces and aggregate of little lives that you're dealing with inside of yourself. So in addition to this part of yourself that is the infant and the part of yourself that is, these are all parts of your soul. The part of you that is the child, the part of you that is the adolescent, the part of you that is the young adult, the part of you that is the adult. There is also a part of you that is the spiritual adult. And there's other component parts of yourself. You have a subconscious mind, you have a conscious mind, and you also have an ego. Now this ego is like the mailman. It's designed to be a part of your consciousness, to sit, what you might say, on the window of your observations, to observe all the things that happen, the events and conditions and circumstances in your life, and then report to you what it has observed. So it is the observer, what you might say, of all of the events and conditions in your life as they occur in time and space. Now, it's designed to report to you on the event, and then it's your job and your choice to determine the context and meaning of that event or those conditions. But we have repeatedly refused to determine the context and the meaning of those events and conditions. And so we just say, oh, I don't want to try and interpret what that person meant when they called me a lowlife, or I don't want to try and determine what it meant when that friend of mine accidentally scratched my car with their ring. I don't want to make a decision that she did that on purpose and therefore wanted to bring me down because she was jealous of my new car. And so therefore we say, I don't want to make those decisions. I don't want to make those determinations. I don't want to determine the context and the meaning of those events. And there's a whole heap of events that are out there happening in the workplace and in relationships with intimates and in dealings with relatives and all sorts of things to do with your finances and all matters relating to the family and children and lovers and romance and social activities and health and the job and partnerships and spouse and all these areas of our life. We are called upon to make decisions and choices as to the context and meaning of a variety of events in our life. But we refuse many times to take on that responsibility. And so we basically are saying to our ego, oh, don't bother me with that. You determine what you want to do with it. You determine what reaction to take to that event or that condition or that circumstance. So in that respect, we have to a certain degree given away our power to our ego. Now it is not equipped to handle that power and to make those decisions and choices. It doesn't have the whole of your consciousness to work with. And so all it can do is do its best. And so it interprets the friend of yours scratching your car as, oh, she did that on purpose because she's jealous of you having that beautiful car. Or in a relationship with somebody, that person lied to you. They're having an affair on the side. Your ego tells you. When the person mentions that they were out for a quick drink at lunch with a friend, and so forth. So you can see the ego enjoys having that power. It's like a puppy dog. A puppy dog or a child with lesser consciousness than yourself will get used to being able to manipulate you. They drop things out of their pram and from their high chair, and they get used to you coming and picking it up and giving it back to them. They spit their dummy out. They get used to you running around after them. They scream and you come running. They get accustomed to manipulating even at that age. Well, that's what your ego is like. The dog is the same. The dog gets accustomed to barking and you're there. Food, food, food. And so you give it food. This is just giving you similarities there to understand a little bit about what I'm talking about here. So we have this ego inside of ourselves, to cut a long story short, that gets accustomed to taking that power of context and meaning, assigning context and meaning to an event or a condition in our life, and it enjoys having that power and seeing us dance to its tune. And pretty soon it's not just interpreting outside of events, it's interpreting your state of emotions and feelings. And it gets accustomed to telling you that you're a lowlife, that you'll never amount to anything, and that you never succeed. As long as it can lie to you, and it repeatedly lies to you and tells you falsehoods about you and your capabilities and your power and your love, it gets accustomed to telling you that you're nothing but a lowlife, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never succeed, and you're a failure. And when it is in control like that, it is the boss. It enjoys that thrill of power and being in control. So all of us have this ego inside of ourselves that has now turned negative. And this negative ego is a conglomeration of all of our negative thoughts that we've ever had in our life, eventually and ultimately. And so we have all of these thoughts about ourselves, about lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, feelings of not being good enough, feelings of guilt, feelings of shame, feelings of being a failure, I'll never amount to anything. We have all of these attitudes and beliefs inside of ourselves, and these attitudes and beliefs are all thought forms. So it's important to understand that the enemy is there within yourself, within ourselves. All of us have this ego inside of ourselves which has got all of these negative beliefs. These negative beliefs are also put there in our childhood by parents telling us we'll never amount to anything. You're a failure. This, that. You're a low life. And so forth. So we're given all of these negative beliefs and attitudes and feelings that we don't deserve, and that we'll never amount to anything, and we're not good enough, and we'll never be loved, and we're going to be lonely, and we're full of anxiety and doubt and insecurity and problems with sabotaging ourselves and shame and guilt and fear. Look, we all know that what I'm talking about here is the absolute truth. Now, you can't kill this negative ego. It is now a massive state of consciousness there within yourself, not as big as you. It's still not self-conscious, but it still enjoys this control over you that it's developed over the years. And so it enjoys saying jump, and you say, how high, sir? And so the ego has got a big head, and it's the one many times in control of ourselves. And so we wallow in self-pity, we wallow in escapism through drugs and alcohol and our addictions to overeating and things like that, and overdoing it with entertainment and sex and so on and so forth, and deception and lies and not being trustworthy and reliable. All of these parts of ourselves are there within ourselves, and collectively they make up that negative ego. That's the enemy within. Now, nothing can be created and nothing can be destroyed. It is simply a consciousness unit that is on the involutionary arc of energy down into matter, and it hasn't yet attained the level of self-consciousness. Now, it cannot be destroyed, but it can be transformed and changed over a period of time. So what we have to get accustomed to doing is taking back our power. When the ego says, this happened, and it happened for that reason, and this is the context and meaning of it, it's up to us to say, no, I'm the one in charge here. I'm the one who is the soul. And so you say to yourself, inside of yourself, I am the soul. I am the light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. You as a soul are the combination of a higher mind, an intuition, and a spiritual will. And those three together are a complexity, a whole that is greater than the sum of the parts. And you are that soul. You have a piece of that soul inside of yourself as your self-consciousness. So you can remind yourself that I have power, and I am the one in charge here, and I can determine the context and meaning of these things. And gradually, over a period of time, you can change those images that you have of yourself. And you can change those thoughts of guilt and shame and fear and anxiety and doubt and insecurity and low self-esteem and self-punishment and martyrhood and bad self-image. All of these component parts that we have inside of ourselves, we are the one in control. We are the one in control. So I'm urging you to take back your power, And the way to do this over a period of time is to replay my videos and to enroll in my intensives so that you can get all of the good stuff going into yourself. So that you can remind yourself that you are a piece of that one universal soul. And you, as a piece of that soul, have all of the properties, all the qualities, and all of the powers of the whole inside of yourself now. Your task is to recognize that fact and unfold those powers. And you have a lot of power, strength, and talent inside of yourself. You have a lot of goodness, truth, and beauty, and it's time to unfold that goodness, truth, and beauty. And the way to do that and to get control of this negative ego who loves to see you getting drunk every night, who loves to see you on drugs all the time, who loves to see you wallowing in self-pity, who loves to see you having low self-esteem, who loves to see you trapped in guilt and shame and fear and anxiety and doubt and insecurity and low self-esteem and self-punishment and self-denial. And you need to learn to love yourself again, because there's a lot about you that is very lovable. And it's time for you to take back that power and to repeat whenever you are tempted to slip into guilt or to slip into shame or to slip into self-destructiveness or self-sabotage through any of your addictions. It's time for you to say, hey, I have power. I am the soul. I am the light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. And I am going to take back my power from that ego. And every time it tries to tell me that I'm no good or that I'll never amount to anything, that's not true, and I won't let that in. And you, Mr. Ego, are going to be taken down from your high chair. You are not going to be in control of me anymore. Now you need energy to be able to do that. You need will, and you need motivation, and you need determination, and you need courage, and you need strength. And the way to get this motivation and to get this strength is to throw yourself into my intensives. I've written a book called What Really Matters. And that book teaches you and shares with you my journey of discovery from being atheistic 39 years ago to now being fully in love with God, Goddess, all that is, because I know that they love me and they know my name, and they love you and they know your name, and they want you to become all that you can be and more. And do you know what happens when you wallow in self-pity and fear and anxiety and shame and guilt and low self-esteem? When you wallow in those aspects of yourself, you are creating a negative set of circumstances and conditions outside of yourself. Make no mistake about it, there is a connection between your inner being, your attitudes and your beliefs, your thoughts and your feelings, and the decisions and choices that you make, and the outer world of circumstances and events that you experience in life. Nothing happens by chance. There's no such thing as random chance. Everything happens according to the predominant patterns of thought and feeling that you have inside of yourself on a day-by-day basis. So if you want to have better finances, improve your inner thoughts about finances and your deservability to be wealthy and to have good financial circumstances in life. If you want your dealings with relatives to go better, then you change your inner beliefs and attitudes about all of that. If you want relationships to work out better for you, then you need to start to learn to love yourself first, because unless you can love yourself, you can't love another. And if you want that job to work out better and your dealings with those that you work with, then you need to change your attitudes and beliefs about yourself. Everything starts inside of yourself. And all of the outer circumstances in life are a direct reflection of that. There's no such thing as random chance. So you need motivation. You need will and determination and power to be able to control that negative ego who has got very, very powerful, because it's got inside of itself all these powerful thought forms that you've been repeating over the decades. That you'll never amount to anything, that you're a low life, that you're not lovable, and low levels of self-esteem and self-worth and value and so forth that you place upon yourself. So you need to take in energy, and it's a project that occurs not overnight. Don't expect to be perfect. That's a trap too. Okay, we all make mistakes. Accept that it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the human condition. You're not a defect. But by taking in the positive understanding that comes from enrolment in my intensives with 12 CDs of my intensives out of my book, What Really Matters, you'll learn about my journey of discovery and my journey of expansion. And you'll also then be able to start expanding your understanding about the nature of reality and your place in that reality. And you'll be able to learn the art and the science of meditation. And you'll be able to learn about reincarnation and the fact that God and Goddess have given you the gift of eternal life. You can never ever die. And so it's time to start learning about astrology and meditation and reincarnation. And in that intensive number 1 with my 12 CDs out of my book, What Really Matters, there's meditations in there too to build your self-esteem and your value of yourself, and to build your self-confidence, and to change the image that you have inside of yourself. This is all energy. This will help you to become more of the giant that you truly are. Yes, it's time now to release that negative ego and bring it down from its position of power, and realize that it is the enemy within, but realize that you are the one with the self-conscious mind. It doesn't have that, and the power is in the self-conscious mind. So you have the power of choice, and my intensives will help you to build that power, to build that understanding, to build that knowledge and awareness that you have a great deal of goodness, truth and beauty inside of yourself. You have a lot of power, strength and talent that you're not drawing upon. So I thank you for your attentiveness here. Get your horoscope done by me. I'm happy to do that free of charge if you haven't had it done so far. And come to my website and enrol in the intensives. Get stuck into expanding your consciousness, expanding your awareness about who you really are, and the wonder and the beauty of life. Life is to be lived to the full, not wallowing down there in self-pity and shame and fear and anxiety and doubt and insecurity and feelings of not good enough and feelings that you don't deserve and that you're not lovable and that you'll never amount to anything. That's the old days. That's the old ego. It's time now to transform that old ego into a positive ego that's there to carry out your will and your determination and your choices, so that you can transform and change your attitudes, your beliefs, and you can make healthier and more powerful decisions and choices about where you're going in life. And God and Goddess are there with you as your partner all the way. You have eternal life. You can never, ever die. So I thank you for your attentiveness, and you can get a little bit of my enthusiasm about what I've discovered about the path of life that we're all on. Thank you.